I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, let the record note that no action was taken in closed session. At this point, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
So move.
Second. It's been moved and second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. All right, now we'll move on to communications. We'll start with public comment. Members of the public may address the Board of Trustees regarding any special board meeting agenda item during the board consideration of that item. Please note that if you wish to address the Board of Trustees on an agenda item, you should do so when that specific agenda item is called for by the board president. At this point now, we will allow people to address the board on items that are not on the agenda. Please note that while we will not necessarily comment or address the issue today because it is not on the agenda, note that we are listening and we will, while there may be a follow-up question or another, we will work to address your issue at a later time. In order to submit for a comment, to comment in person, please fill out the request to be heard card and give it to the board clerk. Your name will be called during the public comment agenda item or during the special agenda item. Comments are limited to 2 minutes. You can also submit a comment online via Gamut Meetings. Enter your name and email address, and the board assistant will provide your comment to the board. Also, to submit a YouTube comment, please type your comment in the live chat section, and the superintendent will share your comment with the board as appropriate. With that, we'll give you a few minutes to see if there's anyone who'd like to address the board on any item that is not on the agenda. So I wonder if on the YouTube channel we have like the music playing. There you go. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, it appears we have no one here in the house who's interested, who wants to, who has a comment. Do we have any comments online? Okay.
Just a hello from one of our fifth graders who's watching today.
Oh, well, hello. Okay, we're going to go ahead then and move on to reports, and we will start with the Robla Education Foundation.
And we welcome in the new year, and shortly I will be putting out the solicitation paperwork for the fireworks booth. As you know, it's been our source of income, and last year's booth resulted in the considerable donation for the Fruit Project. One of the school sites, 6th grade field trips, a couple field trips to FER that's coming up from Robla, among a couple other things that we've taken care of. So hopefully we'll do good again this year with our volunteer signups, and I won't stress out worrying about how I'm going to get it staffed at times. So, but I do have a driver for my vehicle for the evenings, and got one that's pretty much lined up for the mornings, depending on her schedule.
Excellent.
That's all I have.
Thank you so much. All right, move on to collective bargaining units. We'll start with Robla Teachers Association. All right, now we'll have CSEA. Right. And then we'll have the superintendent's report.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Just a few comments about the recent storms. We have weathered them well, pun intended. Schools are fine, students are fine. I'm happy to say we never lost power to our schools on any of our school days, so that is wonderful. There's a lot of people to thank to make sure that we got through those days. First and foremost, Mark Langley, our director of maintenance, who gets up at a terrible hour, like at 4 a.m, and gets out to the schools and makes sure that everything looks good. And so we were in communication, and Mark let us know that schools had power on days when we were concerned about that. He let us know about flooding so that we could take care of anything that needed to be taken care of. So we're very grateful to him. I'd like to also thank our administrators, many of whom are here tonight, who were on the phone with me on Sunday and making sure that we were gearing up to keep everybody safe on the next school day. So thank you to all of them. Thank you, of course, to all of our staff who kept students safe during the storms. I understand they're not over, so hopefully we will continue to be as successful in the future as we have been and continue to keep schools up and running and keep everybody as safe and dry as we can. I guess I also want to thank Mother Nature for not striking any of our schools with lightning so that we were able to stay up and running. We have informally, and we'll make this more formal later, declared Wellness Month here in the Robla School District in January. We'll be launching some activities soon to help everybody kind of buy into this idea that we want to make sure in this new year that we are focusing on wellness. We've been working on a wellness page that we saw a preview of when our communications person, Heather McGowan, shared her last report. This will be something that we hope will be a kind of a one-stop shop on our website for employees and families to access a variety of services that we have available to them. We'll kind of be revisiting this idea this year of contagious positivity that we launched at the start of the school year, and we'll be sharing some resources for self-care, which is something we want to make sure all of our employees and our families are thinking about. I'd like to acknowledge that in December we held our annual winter wish list activities, which is our activity every year at the holiday time to get resources, gifts, and food, and coats and shoes to our neediest families. Thank you to Sac Republic Football Club for their donations, for all of the volunteers who came from Sac Republic FC. They did a lot of collecting of resources for our families and did a lot of the delivery. Thank you to the Optimists who collected food for our families and organized the food into boxes, which made it very easy to deliver to our families. I'd like to acknowledge Sharon Wright of the Robla Community Parks Association. She stepped up with some help from the community to donate hundreds of coats to our students. Thank you to all of the Robla employees and board members who volunteered over our winter break to deliver food to our families. And a special thank you to Erica Lee, our nutrition director, and to Ramon Fajardo right here next to me, who were the masterminds behind making all of this happen. Lots of organization was required. So Ramon, thank you for that. Our next parent empowerment dinner is happening on February 13th. So we want to make sure that the board has that date. It's a Monday. It will happen at Main Avenue School. We have identified our speaker who will talk to us that evening, Mr. Chet Hewitt, a longtime friend of the Robla School District. He leads the Sierra Health Foundation and has very much supported the Sacramento region for a long time, and we're happy to have him talk to our families. There will be music. We're starting a new award this year for students. Principals will be hearing more about this. The Ruby Bridges Award for students who are exemplifying the characteristics of Ruby Bridges, who stood up for civil rights. We had the wonderful opportunity to have Ruby Bridges visit our district a few years ago as part of this event. So we're beginning this award in recognition of her and her life dedicated to schools and to children and to civil rights. And we will also have student art on display. So looking forward to it. We hope you'll plan to be there. And we think it will be another wonderful event.
Can you tell me the date again?
February 13th, the day before Valentine's Day.
That's also the strings concert?
In February?
Or am I looking at the wrong one? That's what I have.
January 13th was next week.
Okay, never mind.
Okay.
Okay.
beginning.
Finally, are we good, Mr. Barnes? Okay. And then finally, I just wanted to share that I had lunch with our old friend Shari Malasmeen today, and she wishes everybody well. She's enjoying her retirement and is doing well and wishes us all well. Also, that's my report.
Okay. Dun, dun, dun. My apologies. I'm off on another page now. Okay, we're going to board member reports.
None.
Nothing to report?
Nothing to report.
Robert covered most of it.
Okay.
Good, thank you.
Just a real brief report on Sacramento Valley College Core. As you all know, Robla has participated in Sacramento Valley College Core, the first cohort, and I just wanted to let people know that they have actually started applications for the second cohort of students. And so, in case you're wondering, we call it the Sacramento Valley College Core because we recruit students from UC Davis, CSU Sacramento, Sac City, and Woodland Community College. And those students participate in a variety of community service activities, including helping out and tutoring in Robla. So they have just started recruiting for the next year's cohort. And a really interesting thing was they had actually planned on expanding the numbers, but they couldn't. And the reason why is because for the first cohort, they had expected a certain amount of attrition or so, people applying for it and figuring out that either they couldn't do it or this wasn't quite their thing, and they actually didn't get that. So they exceeded the numbers for the first year, which will affect the second year. But I'm excited that they are starting the recruitment for the second year, and so I look forward to Robla continuing with that. That's it.
And I have two things to report. The first, as you know, this coming Monday we'll be honoring the Martin Luther King Jr. Day March. There will be, this year it's going to be done a little bit differently in that there are multiple marches throughout the city. There's going to be one, normally there's one that starts in South Sacramento, comes downtown, and then one from North Sacramento that goes downtown. Well, they're kind of being done separately now. There's one being done separately in the South, one in Midtown, and also one right here in North Sacramento. The major organizer for it is the Roberts Family Development Center. I think we kind of know them. In any case, it's going to be taking place at Grant Union High School. They'll be gathering at 8:30 in the morning. There'll be a brief program starting at 9, from 9 to 10. There'll be a march, and then afterwards from 11:30 to 2, there's going to be a resource fair there held in the main gym there at Grant High School. So if you're interested in participating, please make sure you get on out there. Once again, Monday starting at gathering at 8:30. So the march will be program and actually be starting at 9. Also, I want to encourage my fellow board members to participate in the CSBA Virtual Legislative Action Week. It's going to be 3 days, and the way in which we're doing the legislative advocacy is the same way we've done it the last few years. It's going to be virtual, so they'll be arranging Zoom meetings with various different legislators and or their staff throughout the week from March 14th to March 16th. If you go to CSBA's website, you can actually go ahead and register, and they'll help make sure that we get plugged in with our legislators. And with that, that will complete my report. And we'll get back to the agenda. Where are we at here? Okay, we'll move on to presentations, and I will start with our facilities. Oh, wait, did I skip something here?
Recognition.
Oh, yeah. I should have missed that at the very bottom.
We're here to help, Mr. Deleuze.
Thank you. Okay, we have presentation and adopt School Board Recognition Month, resolution number 888. The Robla School District is proud to join more than 1,000 local educational agencies in the state in recognizing the contributions of board members during Robla School Board Recognition Month. In this time of unprecedented challenges in nearly every sector of life, board members have worked tirelessly to help our district establish new ways of ensuring students continue to learn. Join us in saluting our hardworking board members for their support of our students through effective policies and their continuing advocacy for our students.
So I'm going to request that that I get to read the whole resolution.
Please do.
All right. Whereas an excellent public education system is vital to the quality of life for all California citizens and communities, and whereas our public education system has faced unprecedented circumstances these past 2 years as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and whereas our local school boards acted immediately to ensure our children's academic, social, emotional, physical, and mental health needs continued to be met at a time when students needed consistent services most. And whereas school board members continue to advocate to best serve the children in our community each and every day. And whereas local school board members are committed to children and believe that all children can be successful learners and that the best education is tailored to the individual needs of the child. And whereas school board members work closely with parents, educational professionals, and other community members to create the healthiest environments possible where all students can thrive. And whereas school board members are responsible for building and maintaining the structure that provides a solid foundation for our school system. And whereas school board members are strong advocates for public education and are responsible for communicating the needs of the school district to the public, and the public's expectations to the district. And whereas the mission of the public schools is to meet the diverse educational needs of all children and to empower them to become competent, productive contributors to a democratic society in an ever-changing world, and this is more poignant than ever. Therefore, be it resolved that the Robla School District hereby declares our appreciation to the members of the Robla School Board and proclaims the month of January 2023 as School Board Recognition Month. I urge all community members to join me in recognizing the dedication and hard work of local school board members and in working with them to create an education system that meets the needs of our children. Thank you.
Something.
I guess I'll would entertain a motion to
Adopt.
adopt.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? I don't know. I I'll just say this. I think that I appreciate my colleagues here, and I believe every word that is written here is applicable to each and every one of you. I know that I wish we could have done more during these unprecedented times. I wish we had done more during these unprecedented times, but I also know that we did what we knew we had the ability to do. And I know that the work is not done. And so with this, I thank you for putting this on the agenda. I thank you for giving the opportunity for us to recognize the hard work that my colleagues have done during their time on the board. And with that, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. See, I'm always just so excited for the facilities update, so that's why I got a little ahead of myself. And with that, we'll move on to presentations and information. We'll start with facilities update.
There's no facilities update.
There's no facilities update.
Sorry to disappoint you.
Well, there goes my meeting. Okay. All right, so we'll move now on to the Williams UCP quarterly report.
Nothing to report.
Moving right along. Okay, we'll move on to board policy review 5116.1, intra-district open enrollment.
This is simply an action we must take every year to review this policy. We have not made changes to the policy. It's just our annual review to make sure that it is what we need it to be.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll move forward. And we'll move on to SIPSA updates.
Are you going to introduce this, Cindy, or we're just going to get right into it? Okay.
All right.
And we're going to go in the order that's in the agenda. All right. So we're going to start with Main Avenue. That's you, Ms. Newhouse.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
All right, well, I'm Sarah Newhouse. I'm principal at Main Avenue. Nice to meet you, Ms. Hamilton.
Thank you, too.
I'm going to give you a brief update on our site plan for Main Avenue and how it's progressing so far this year. And you just have a one-page visual. I just gave you some bullet points so that you could follow along for what I'm going to share with you tonight. Overall, we're moving forward with our plan we have set forth. And again, I'm just going to give you some highlights from some key areas from our plan. One of our biggest undertakings is our focus on writing in grades K through 6th grade. We contracted with SCOE this year via Memorandum of Understanding and have a specialist, Deirdre Marsh-Girardi, who is working in depth with each of our grade levels. Deirdre began with us in August to set the tone and begin planning our writing practice from the second week of instruction. We met again with her at the end of the first trimester in November, and then we'll do so again at the end of January and then again in April. In August, we started with an overview of writing and language standards and how these standards are taught and assessed in the Wonders curriculum, as well as how they are assessed via CASP. We then looked at specific writing lessons, the genre by text type, and the performance tasks. Teams picked a prompt and rubric to use at the end of the writing cycle and then to administer to their students. Each time they're scheduled to meet with Deirdre, they bring student writing samples and they score them and discuss. These meetings bring about in-depth discussions regarding writing instruction, student progress, and then allow time for the teams to plan next steps for the coming trimester. Teachers have found that this work as teams has been time well spent. Because students lost meaningful writing instruction over the past several years, we felt this endeavor would be most impactful. Focusing on writing instruction is multi-layered and not just about writing. It affects their reading comprehension as well as has strong impact for our English learners. It drives our work as grade level PLCs as well as our work as site PLCs and the vertical and articulation that we've been doing over time. We continue to spend time during our staff meetings and our PLCs looking at a variety of data. We have analyzed our CASP, our local district assessment data from the beginning of the year and from trimester 1. We look for any trends or patterns, implications, and then set an action plan. We call this the here's what, so what, now what protocol, and it's one that we use throughout the year as a district. We use it at cabinet, and it's our way that we dig into our data. From these conversations, we adjust our first teaching in Tier 1, as well as our groupings and approaches in Tier 2 and Tier 3. Specifically in math, our teachers in grades TK through 3rd grade are working with students on counting collections. After our November Professional Development Day that shared our work in P3CC and counting collection strategies with all TK through 6th grade teachers, our teachers in grades 4 through 6 at Main Avenue were very interested in getting their own set of manipulatives for their classrooms. They saw great value in using them to support the work that they're doing at the intermediate level. So we are in the process of using some of our Title I dollars to put together an order for them, in particular items that have multiple attributes that add to the rigor of the upper grade math. Our goal for school climate and student engagement is one that we are heavily invested in to support our students in their social emotional learning. As I've shared in prior presentations last year, we're a site that implements zones of regulation school-wide. This curriculum is a series of lessons that give staff and students tools to recognize and name emotions, self-regulate, identify triggers and the size of the problem, and use positive language with each other and themselves. This year, we've created school-wide buddies, which every grade level is paired up. So we have an intermediate classroom paired with a primary grade. They meet several times a month to engage in activities that focus on our monthly character trait, build community, as well as communication skills. For example, our next traits are optimism and patience, and we have our next assembly on January 27th, so our buddies are meeting to engage in activities prior to that assembly. We recognize students weekly who have earned Panther Paws, which are the tickets students earn when they demonstrate our 3 expectations of being respectful, responsible, and safe. We're able to honor students during lunchtime so that they can celebrate their peers. We've also added in a class incentive called the Golden Lunchbox, where classes are awarded for their cafeteria behavior, demonstrating teamwork and team effort. And excitingly, this year, Main Avenue has partnered with a mental health clinician through the SCOE school-based mental health and wellness partnership. We have a full-time clinician working with our site, supporting specific students in counseling services. Her name is Jennifer Perez, and she's been a wonderful addition to our site, and she's working collaboratively with our social worker, Elisa Omo. So this just gives you a brief overview on some of our key areas for our school level plan. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have, but thank you for your time.
Any questions or comments?
No.
Okay. Thank you so much for your presentation.
All right.
Thank you.
Next, we have Robla Elementary.
They all forgot where they worked tonight.
Well, thank you everyone to update you on Robla and our plan. If I take a breath and go through last year, our student goals were to engage and inspire students. Like coming back to school, we felt like students this year needed to be connected in ELA and math, and taking a look at that, we also wanted to do weekly second step in zones of regulation. And the other underlying goal was to improve academic performance in all areas through looking and at our school-wide win time. To give you an update on some specifics, this year we've delivered more GLAD instruction. Teachers have units developed. GLAD instruction takes a lot of work. And I would like to say thank you to Mrs. Yates and Mr. Byram they've went out on their own and created a 5th grade unit that's about to start at Robla. So that's something that's a huge thing for those students as far as engagement. The other thing that this year win time is more specific and data driven. To give you an example, our last PLC, Mr. Penman shared with us our T1 data, and what it showed students were, or what it showed the teachers were specific standards where students weren't successful. And if you can imagine a 3rd grade class or 3rd grade team looking and going, wow, they looked at all their data, their fluency went up, their reading comprehension went up, but they noticed the standard that was expository text, and they noticed that was a weakness or a challenge area for students, so they're changing that and adding that to our win time. The other thing at Robla that we're really excited about is our counting collections. Mrs. Hester is leading us. And at our school, every Wednesday, if you want to come by from 8:50 to 9:30, we have counting collections K through 3, and what we've set up and our enrichment teachers have helped cover classes so that all the teachers can see the learning and the process of what students are doing as they do counting collections. So it's not about what the teachers are doing, but what the students are learning, and creating one, transparency that everyone's doing it, and then also kind of a morale booster to say, wow, there's really cool things happening. So that's every Wednesday. The other thing that is happening at Robla right now is we have our PLC coach, Christy Langley. She helped us set up a leadership team with the guiding coalition of teachers, and that's helping us redefine our PLC time. So if you can imagine, our whole group are all the teachers, and then small groups where there's teams. she sat through with our teams, looked at their process and helped them refine it. And then she's also February 9th going to lead the whole group of teachers into how to look at a power standard for math and teach that power standard, and then the learning cycle, like what do you do with students that don't get that information. The other thing that our staff is a slight adjustment. They're wanting more planning time on science instruction. And coming up is tutoring for Robla. That's something that was always very prevalent and successful with Mr. Penman's leadership. So we are asking teachers to consider tutoring in science or reading. And if they don't, then we've contacted an outside source that has credentialed teachers to do that for us. The last thing, similar to Main Avenue, we have a focus in writing this year in WIN. So there are early readers. There was some discussion at our last PLC meeting about students getting phonics with their classroom teacher and then getting it again. So out of that PLC time, we realized that really they didn't need phonics again that way. They needed to do writing. So first graders doing writing during one time. And we have writing kind of embedded throughout all the way through sixth grade, where Ms. Janowitz is doing ancient civilizations writing. Any questions? No? Okay, the next slide is the one I'm most excited about. This is where Robla leads the district. So we spent a lot of time under the coaching of Mr. Penman. Thank you, Mr. Penman, for looking at our data. And if you see, and Mr. Raven was sitting next to me when this data was shared, there's some data points that we're not proud of, but the biggest one in talking to our coaches, kind of that the yellow phase, we need the district in standard nearly met. So that's something the staff has looked at, and our coach, Ms. Christie, gives us. So we have 25% met or exceeded, and our goal is to get half of those green to go forward. Now, so we have a big opportunity in math and ELA to be successful. Our next area is student social emotional growth. We looked at our panorama data, and the two things that were highlighted is we have 74% of our students last year that said behavior in the classroom interrupts their learning. The other thing that was really interesting is 74% of them didn't feel respected by their peers. So that's something we've talked about as a team. Miss Lena Tran in the last week has done bullying stuff. She's done restorative circles. So I talked about we have our weekly back and forth between second step and zones of regulation. We had a PBIS assembly recently called Mustang Roundup, where we taught expectations in the cafeteria, expectations for an assembly, and then there was also fun activity of the students dressing up the teachers with toilet paper to be snowmen. We do recognize students that are successful in the cafeteria. They get an extra recess on Friday. We also we applied and got a Safe School Ambassador grant for $7,000 to train student leaders. So our team selected students that were in the mid-range, not the great behavior, but students in the middle that could go either way. And those students were trained for 2 days on how to do conflict resolution. The last thing is our safety student monitors that you see in the morning. If you see that drop off, you will see that there are students out there with Caltrans vests, and they're helping students like kindergartners get to class. And there's also a teacher out there also doing duty. But the last thing that's not on there that I would really like to say thank you to is Miss Morrison. She has our classes and our teachers doing extra PE. And so at this time, our students are very close to getting the state mandated activity minutes. And I'm very proud of that. These were our staff goals: GLAD instruction, deeper understanding of math instruction, use data, build capacity in writing, and staff emotional wellness. And that's what I'm going to talk about. Next is on our every agenda, our group is working on what's called the Happiness Advantage. It's the #1 class at Harvard um, by an author, and it's the 7 principles of positive psychology that fuel success. So far, we've done 2 modules, emails of gratitude, so they're just kind of random. When you see people doing great things at work, you share it. And we're on our second kind of module, Let's Get Moving. And in February, we're going to do a fun fitness, and the teacher's going to log, and they're going to get random prizes. We also have Employee of the Month. This month is Miss Jana Cooper, and Mrs. Hanson is our Teacher of the Month. They get priority parking right in front of school. Parent involvement is something we know that we have to improve on. So far this year, we had the Harvest Festival. Miss Darlene and her family, and Miss Jana did it for maybe the 28th time, maybe the 42nd time, but it was a huge success. We had the movie night, thanks to our Robla PTC and Mrs. Hester and Mrs. Freer. And then thanks to Dr. G, I'm going to have my first coffee with the principal. This 26th, I'm looking forward to inviting all the families from 8:30 to 9. The last thing I would like to celebrate is our next assembly. It's February 2nd. It's a local author, and her message says to spread Black inspiration to all children. It's February 2nd, K through 1. It's a free assembly if you buy her books and put her books in your library. So we bought her books. So it's a really cool opportunity for us. And that concludes my report.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Thank you so much for your report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And next we have Glenwood.
Mr. G.
All right. How's it going? Mr. Reyes and everyone, members of the board. Dr. David Gutierrez, principal at Glenwood. I do want to kind of take you through a couple of things that we're doing based on our implementation of our SIPSA for this year. And, one of the things that I am always amazed by is how much transition we've all had to do, but in Glenwood in particular, with construction, with new staff, with COVID, with now the thunderstorms. So, it really is an opportunity for us to not only just move forward, but also onboard new staff, also have to kind of reinvent the wheel every year. But one of the things that we're continuing to work on is making sure that we're aligning ourselves with the district's mission or vision statement of every student reaches their potential in a growth-minded environment rich in challenging practices and effective learning for all. Glenwood is our mission is then to have Glenwood be a cross-cultural and linguistic community that fully invested in fostering student success. And for us, that's important that we're always aligning with what the district vision is. Our big goals for this year, and we're actually doing a pretty good job of implementing, getting back to SOAR, obviously, and looking at GLAD, which is Guided Language Acquisition by Design. This year, we're actually going to be doing GLAD in Espanol for our DLI teachers, which many of them have already been trained in GLAD and has led to several successes. But now it will be a focus on actual Spanish instruction for many of our teachers, as well as our English speaking teachers. They will be starting GLAD this month, and our DLI teachers will be starting the GLAD in Espanol next month. Obviously, we want to continue to make sure that all of our teachers are doing integrated and designated ELD math. We've been doing county collections, and that implementation has been doing really good job. The students have actually been really into, all the different choices that they have and all the different activities that they get. at Glenwood, we always have ELA and SLA, right? Spanish language, as well as English language development. So we want to make sure that we continue to push forward with Wonders. We also have Achieve 3000, which is a program that is lexiled in Spanish, which is a little bit different than just a Spanish program. It's a program that's been built up from the ground up to lexile in Spanish. So it would be a book that might be considered a fourth grade book in English, might not be a fourth grade book in Spanish. So that's something that's important to us. Obviously, school climate and parent engagement. But we also don't want to let go of equity, which is something that we have been working on it in Robla for a very long time. And I'm so glad that Superintendent Reyes has made this a big priority. And I think that it's something that we need to continue to do. Like I said, we were doing an expansion of SOAR strategies on a daily basis, implementation of GLAD. One of the things that we've been working with our Christy Langley from Solution Tree is to continue to cultivate an instructional leadership team because of turnover, because of new teachers coming in and out. Sometimes the institutional knowledge gets lost in there, so we have to continuously reinvent an instructional leadership team so that they know how to guide PLCs, so that we know how to make sure that we're having a same direction, not 5 different directions. Our DLI program is also starting its second year of doing a district wide PLC with district administrators like Mrs. Cindy Lyon, Mr. Reyes. For me, that's a really good opportunity for our teachers to be able to connect from their classroom to the school to the district and how this looks school-wide. And now, because we've now been in our 6th year of implementation, we want to be able to look at this program. We started it, now let's assess it. How are we doing? Are we doing well? What are the areas that we need to improve? What are the areas that we need to refine? We're trying to get as much math tutoring as possible, as well as Jumpstart. For summer camp was a really good success for us. Lots of students signed up. I think we had the biggest summer camp student population, which culminated with a ballet folklorico that we were able to perform for our parents during the summertime. English language development, continuing to do, again, designated, integrated, looking for primary language supports, making sure that we're having constructive conversations, as well as soaring GLAD strategies. Attendance is an area that we have been looking at. It's an area that we need to continuously push. We just actually looked at some data at cabinet yesterday, and it really causes us to reflect around this time, especially when a lot of families, they go back home to their areas of like Mexico, or they go back to Latin America, or go and visit other places, and sometimes they don't tell us, and they go and then we have to make up that ADA. So we're continuing to do parent phone calls. We're continuously to also doing prizes for good attendance. That's one of the things we want to continue to promote. Recognitions, raffles, trophies. One of the things that we want to continue to do is Saturday school for attendance makeup. And then one of the other things that we just started to really look at this last month was doing home visits with our social worker for those who are chronically absent, because there is a small group of students that are continuously not coming to school, and that's something that we can't have. Oh wait, that's the other way. Wait, I'm going the other way. And one of the things I want to really highlight is that we are recipients of the gold medal for PBIS, and that's something that we got through Placer County of Education because of the really good work that we've been doing in making sure that PBIS Tier 1 and Tier 2 are really being implemented with fidelity. And of course, going still with our restorative practices and our PBIS reward system, which is a um, a way for us to keep track school-wide of how much recognition students are getting, not just from teachers, but from all staff members. And as far as school climate, we want to continue with MTSS, obviously, and bullying prevention. One of the things that we really do want to make sure that we're looking at is how do we get students connected to the school? So we've started a morning dance club where students get to come in and they have an instructor and they do some morning dancing, which is kind of cool. And I think that's, in a nutshell, we have PBS rewards, which I just spoke about. Parent engagement is one of the strongest parts of Glenwood. We're starting to get our coffee with the principal back to the levels of pre-pandemic, where it was anywhere between 20 to 50 parents showing up, which is one of the things that we really, really want to continue to push. We had a great harvest festival. We had probably about 300 parents or so come out. So parents are definitely hungry to be back on campus and to have community again. And DLI, like I said, is growing. We're now in 5th grade. We're going to be in 6th grade next year. And we're working with New Hope to make sure that there's a pathway moving forward from 7th and 8th grade, so that it's not just I had a dual language education in elementary school and that was it. But all the research is clear that going into 7th and 8th grade, that's when they really start to get the biggest bang for their buck. And obviously, the one thing we want to do is reestablish trust and collaboration with all of our different community members, from parents to staff to district, and everyone wants to make sure that we're looking at not just learning loss, but also emotional growth. And yeah, thank you. Questions?
Any questions or comments? Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Now we'll move on to Bell Avenue.
I'm Lisa Hall, I'm the principal at Bell Avenue. I don't think we've met, so it's
I
nice
think so.
to meet you.
Meet you too.
So tonight, it was our mission was to go over our school plan that we presented to you last spring, and talk about any changes in our goals, anything that may be different this year. For Bell, there aren't a lot of differences, but what I gave you, or what I provided for you, is a handout kind of revisiting our goals, and then I will go over anything that's just slightly different. And so how I organized it was I included math and language arts together, because a lot of the strategies are very similar. So in looking at the very first section there, the support plan for academic improvement related to the areas of language arts and math, as well as ELD. As we have at all school sites, we have our weekly level PLCs, twice monthly site PLCs. And those can look different depending on the time of the year. We analyze data, goal setting, plan next steps for instruction, and then often we meet as cross grade level. We do our cross grade level articulation. Today we actually had Christy Langley out at our site during our PLC, and she was working on goal setting with us based on our current data. And I thought that was and she really helped the teachers understand today how to look at their students that are making minimal growth, no growth, or minimal growth, and what the expectations are to move them forward, and what is the plan, and how often are we monitoring that plan. So that's just an example of what we worked on today. At Bell Avenue School, many of you know that we are almost a 100% GLAD trained school. We have currently one teacher without her GLAD certification, and we're working on that. For us at Bell, we find that GLAD, using the GLAD strategies, it's highly engaging for the students. And since we have become almost, I don't want to say 100%, but almost 100% GLAD trained school, when I visit classrooms and when teachers, we talk about classroom engagement and learner engagement, it's a lot higher. The kids are, there's a lot of movement involved. There's a lot of talking involved. It's very student centered, and the kids tend to be pretty engaged with what's going on. We also offer tutoring primarily in the 5th grade. It can be challenging to have teachers tutor after school. Our teachers are really busy doing different committees and things like that. Right now, it's primarily 5th grade, but it varies throughout the year. 4th grade just let me know that they would like to start tutoring after school as well. We offered summer school this summer and the previous summer. It's a pretty successful summer school with regular attendance. We had about 75 students in our summer school, and we offered it K-5. We also, our school actively uses Accelerated Reader, Scholastic News, and we just recently purchased Moby Max. And those are supplemental programs. Those aren't programs where students are learning. Those are more practice programs. So, and the students can use them at home. Not Accelerated Reader, but the other ones they can use from home. Also in our PLC work for this, we've done it in the past, and then we've revisited our work, which was kind of nice. Pre-pandemic, we took all of the IEBs. This was very labor intensive, and we pulled out all the academic language from math and the language arts, and we organized it by grade level so that teachers K-6 knew when they should be introducing specific academic terms that students would need to be successful in any type of standardized testing. And we did that pre-pandemic, and we pulled it out this recently in November, and we revisited it and to make sure that that's what we're continuing to do. Specific to language development, we, as we do at all school sites, we have a daily 30-minute ELD specific instructional time. And then we have a second dose for our language, our level 1 students. All of our teachers have had professional development and connection to the LPAC. So the teachers at Bell, all the teachers at Bell, not just the teachers that teach language learners, have a very clear understanding of what the LPAC expectations are for students to be successful on the LPAC test, so that they can incorporate those skills and the vocabulary students need, throughout the day in the classroom. We really encourage summer school for all of our EL students, and all of our EL students have My Lexia English available in the classroom as well as at home. To ensure a positive school culture and strong home-school connection, first of all, I want to say relationships are everything. At Bell, I know that our staff really values the relationship the students have with the staff members, and then the homeschool connection as well. As all of the schools in the district are, we are very dedicated to PBIS. The teachers are explicitly teaching routines and expectations, not just in the classroom, but throughout the school. And we have our Tiger Ticket Tuesday, which is recognition of students that have earned tickets for following our PBIS expectations, monthly character trait assemblies, consistent language across the campus, which is very important. We also use zones of regulation campus-wide. That's something that's specifically taught. We start the school year with a GLAD unit, a zones of regulation GLAD unit, and that's K-6. And then we're using second step school-wide. So that's something those are the things that we do school-wide. But then for our kids that are struggling, we also have, we meet a couple of times a month in our MTSS Tier 2 meetings to plan make specific plans for students that are struggling, whether it's typically behaviorally, we're meeting to just plan things that will help impact their day in a positive way. We have a lot of kids on check-in, check-out, I think you're probably pretty familiar with that. And then all our social skills groups are planned around what's happening currently on the school site and what are the needs of the kids. Last year we had a strong need for some social skills amongst our girls. So we had a really big girls group last year for our fifth graders, and it was really positive. And at the end of the year, I think the kids really could see the benefit of spending their, some of their lunches with the social worker and the teachers that were involved. They had a lot of fun, but there was a lot of work that needed to happen to help the girls communicate in a more positive way. So for school attendance, as Mr. Gutierrez mentioned, we spoke about that yesterday in cabinet. We are currently at a 91.5% attendance rate, so that's lower than before pandemic, and we are working really hard to try to figure out how we get our attendance back up to an acceptable rate. I think it's kind of it's a mindset too for our families, especially for our younger families, that school is important. Daily attendance is important, and I think we're looking at our kindergarten, TK through first grade. We noticed that there are some lower attendance rates in those grade levels, and so trying to figure out how to communicate with families in a positive way that every day is important, even for our 4-year-olds and our 5 and 6-year-olds. We monitor our attendance daily. We are very diligent about follow-up phone calls or texts, whatever it takes. As administrator, myself and Mrs. Ruby, the CSC, we follow up if absences start to become excessive, home visits. We do a lot of shout outs. I use social media for shout outs, and then we do just a lot of shout outs just in the public announcements about 100% attendance. The kids love that. We are monitoring our specific students that have challenging attendance, that are either almost chronically absent or are already chronically absent, setting goals for improvement. And then we have a lot of incentives in place for kids that do show improvement. And then we're providing a lot of support with simple things like alarm clocks. That seems simple, but it makes a big difference. And then also helping parents, assisting parents putting some strategies in place for kids to arrive on time and getting to school. And then that school communication. Sometimes kids miss the bus, and the parents are like, oh, they can't come to school, and so we need to problem solve. Sometimes kids can come to school even if they miss the bus. So we have to figure out how to make that happen. Mrs. Brown sometimes is even able to send a bus driver back, pick up kids. So we're really trying to get the parents to talk to us so that we know what's going on and we can help. And then, of course, we utilize the SART and SAR process if appropriate. We try not to get into those situations, but sometimes they can be pretty effective. Suspension rates. My suspension rate was pretty low, like 1%, I think, before pandemic. And last year it was at 2.7%. So it definitely went up. We are, as we do at Bell, we really value the strong staff to student relationships. We are trying and really focused in on providing highly engaging academic learning environments, back to the GLAD units and GLAD strategies. We're really ensuring that we have highly consistent school to home communication, encouraging students to use their cell strategies, and then modeling them, talking about them throughout the school, utilizing our MTSS Tier 2 supports, and then also looking at the data as to what is happening when kids are getting suspended. So for example, last year we had several suspensions that were vape related, which seems a little shocking at an elementary school level, but that was actually, I think, our #1 suspension was connected to vapes. And so this year, we've been working on providing some vape education. That's a new thing for us. It just seems like it's not really appropriate at an elementary school level, but being that that was our number one cause for suspension last year, that that's something we're working on for 5th and 6th grade students, and including interested parents as well. We always want to keep the parents connected. So looking at the data, figuring out what's happening, why are kids getting suspended, and then trying to be proactive. And then lastly, parent involvement. We have a pretty involved parent community. We've had several parent activities this year. Harvest. Our last one was the winter holiday craft night, which was it was really popular, but we were not prepared for the popularity of the craft night, which is it's a good and a bad problem, but it worked out. We had a lot of families come. We kept thinking, oh, this is going to be more like for the primary kids. Everybody came. It was a lot of fun, but so our family events are really popular, and we've hosted 3 big family nights so far. Our social media accounts, and which are Facebook and Instagram. I still have not jumped on Twitter. I don't know. I think it's I need more information, I think, but Facebook and Instagram, they're pretty popular, and parents are really starting to catch on that that's a really quick and easy way to find out, information about the school. And they love the posts about what's going on at school, and pictures of activities and things like that. I use Parent Messenger and email quite a bit, lots and lots of phone calls, school newsletters, flyers, and then our Tiger News. I don't know if you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel, but Bell Avenue has a pretty active YouTube channel, and that's where you'll find our Tiger News. The goal is to get it out weekly. Sometimes we hit little road bumps, but typically it goes out weekly, and it is almost entirely produced by the kids. So they write the scripts, they video, they do all the videoing, and then they edit the whole newscast. So that's a lot of fun, and it's super popular. And typically all of the kids at the school see it every Monday morning. And then above all, the kid, making sure that our staff is very visible and available. I think that really, really helps parents feel like they're part of the school community, and it's important, and that's our goal. Like, just we really want parents, when we're talking about parent involvement, we want parents to feel like it's their school and for them to take some ownership in it. And so our staff, we try to make sure that our staff is very visible, very available, and parents feel welcome when they come on campus. So that's kind of just a review of what you heard last year and in May, with just a couple of things that are a little bit different, just based on the fact that we have a different school this year. This year, I have TKs on campus, which is totally new. They're so cute. The 4-year-olds are super cute, and they have a lot of energy, and they have a lot to say, which is a lot of fun. And then I haven't had kindergarten or first grade on campus in quite a while because of construction. So this year we're back up to our numbers. We're up to about 420 kids at Bell right now. And we've grown into our new building, it's a beautiful building and a beautiful school. And the kids are really, and the staff are really, really impressed with the school. And I can tell that the families feel like school is important. When they drive up to our building and they come to our school, they know that that school education is really important, because the building is the new facilities that they drive up to every day is just kind of shouts that. So everybody's really loving the new facilities, and we're looking forward to getting our playground and fields and stuff like that. I think that's next, but under control so that the kids can enjoy those too. Thank you.
Quick question. The alarm clock. How many of those have you given out?
Oh gosh, so many. I don't know. We give out alarm clocks, probably maybe 20 a year, maybe more. Um, we try to find like old school plug in the wall alarm clocks because the batteries wear out or someone takes the batteries out or whatever. So yeah, just regular alarm clocks, and it does help because it gives the kids some ownership over when they get up um, and their own routine, you know, versus like being reliant on an adult who's maybe not as you know adults have our adults have different work schedules and things like that, and so sometimes it's really challenging for the adults to be in charge of getting the kids up. And so when the kids are old enough and they can wake up to an alarm clock, it makes a big difference. So, but that's just one thing. I mean, we do a lot of things, but that's like a solid example. Any other questions?
Any questions, comments?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to approval of the consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to action items. Item number 1, contract with special education agencies and schools.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Speak to this.
This is a pretty standard agenda item in terms of us needing to contract with agencies that provide services that are needed by particular students who have an IEP and we have goals set out there. So we're happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions? Discussion? We're going to move forward to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Next item, AB 1200 for CSCA and classified administration.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion?
Mr. Castillo could speak to this if the board. Actually, why don't we have him do that a little bit? Maybe share a little bit of the. If you'd like him to review a little bit of the numbers, but the idea here is to ensure the community and the county that any agreements which are later on the agenda that our budget can indeed support those agreements, and this is just the evidence that that is indeed the case.
That is correct. The AB 400 is a requirement from the state that indicates that the district superintendent, the CBO, the board review the financials and meeting that we could meet our obligations for this calculations for these years and the following 2 years. I want to notify the board that we send the AB 1200 ahead of time to SCOE, and so they review it and they approve that, and so they are in agreement with our financials. Sometimes they require a little kind of explanation, but so we follow all the required process that we did. So that's a step before actually the contract needs to be approved. The AB 1200 has to approve first. So that's why that's in that order in the agenda as well. We want to make the public that we do so.
Yeah. And then the AB 1200 is just that we can, it shows that we meet our budgetary obligations for the next 3 years, but doesn't necessarily speak to beyond then, correct?
Yeah, the calculation does not, because it's only 3 years. The farther it is, but it does meet our. We have our reserves that could meet our obligations even farther than that, because we don't know. It's not including the calculations because we don't have the settlements for the employees. Farther than that, we don't know the state projections, about the revenue. So it's actually in the A code is a current plus 2 years, but our district is in a good position to continue even farther in those 2 years.
And one of the things I know we discussed before, it just has to do with, in particular, the relationship to the raises via the both the current approved COLA as well as projected COLA puts us in a good position, correct?
Yeah, so for this year, our COLA, our net COLA is 12.84%.
Mm-hmm.
Our ongoing increase is 8%.
Mm-hmm.
That was in the contract. So we have more obligations for the district, increasing costs in special ed, increasing costs. Everything is going up.
Right.
So we cannot give everything. So, but we appreciate our employees. So it's a very it's a strong increase, but it's something that the district could afford. We are being in financial jeopardy for this year and the following year. And for the contract, the AB 1200 includes 5% for the following year. If you have read the news just 2 days ago, our COLA, the proposed COLA, the January is 8.13% for the following year. So we have little room to cover our other costs as well.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. Yeah,
Mhm.
The reason why that's important, I think, just for public consumption is, as we go forward and we make decisions, when you approve raises, it's not just for the next year, but that's an increase you're going to be paying into perpetuity.
Hmm.
And so it's important for us to know that we're in a position where we can afford to do that in perpetuity. And it is excellent to know that that is in fact the case.
Yeah, and I just want to add one more thing. I know this is kind of like, you could almost see like unprecedented increases, but if you just look at the inflation cost, the COLA, the WAC has been up in what it costs to buy a gallon of milk or some eggs that has increased. So that's kind of like equitable to that. So that's kind of.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Oh, yes, the right questions, we got the right responses. I'm very happy. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Castillo.
Thank you.
Yes.
And with that, if there's no further discussion or debate, we'll move forward to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item C, approved tentative agreement between Robla School District and CSEA Chapter 285 for the 2022-23 and 2023-24 school year.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion or debate? Hearing none, we'll move forward to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item D, approved classified management, confidential, and supervisor employee agreement and salary schedule for 2022-23, 2023-24, and 24-25.
So move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or debate? Hearing none, we'll move forward to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. I know that the next few items are reclassifications. Are all of those a part of maybe a comment that you want to make right now, and then we can go through and approve each one?
Absolutely, I'd be happy to do it that way. So these items reflect the work of our HR Chief, Nicole Sullivan, who has been spending a great deal of time analyzing responsibilities here at the district office. The board approved recently, for example, a new position in her department, and that requires us to look at the responsibilities of the people in that department, and some people need to take on some additional responsibilities. And that's just one example of what's happening here. So as we examine what people do and the responsibilities that they have, we bring forth to the board this idea that some people need to be reclassified in terms of their title, of their position, their responsibilities, and their compensation all be more reflective of the work that they do. So I know Mrs. Sullivan would be happy to answer any specific questions that you may have, but that's the idea behind these items. I would say just in particular on item H, This is something that we did negotiate with CSEA. This is taking our former driver, trainer, dispatcher and making them a classified supervisor. So they're actually coming out of the CSEA unit and becoming part of the manager unit, and that's much more reflective of the responsibility that that person has. So again, this is just our chance to refine the work that we do and make sure it reflects the responsibilities that our employees have.
Okay. Would it be inappropriate to approve E, F, and G, and H altogether?
It would not be inappropriate.
I move that we approve E, F, G, and H together. In a second.
So moved. Second.
So moved in second. Is there any discussion, any questions, comments? Hearing none, we'll move forward to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item I, resolution number 887, California State Preschool Program, continued funding application.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. In discussion?
You know, I'd love to have Ms. Marcoux come up and maybe just say a few words. I know we don't get to hear from her too often, but our preschool director, and this is our annual application to the state, and she can just maybe just give us a quick summary of what this is about.
Good evening, President Deleuze, Board of Trustees. I'm Janine Marcoux, Director of Early Learning. It's nice to see you this evening. As Superintendent Reyes said, this board agenda item is a resolution to adopt the California State Preschool Continued Funding Application for the 2023 to 2024 school year. This is a process we engage in annually where we submit the continued funding application. The state will move forward with approving what we have designated. And for this coming year, the renewed funding will fund 250 preschool spots. That will be 220 spots in our part day program and 30 spots in our full day program. And so this approval will provide the necessary funding for us to move forward with the fiscal contract and continue funding for next year. Questions?
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's already a motion on the floor, so go ahead if there's no discussion or debate. We'll move forward to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item J, approve New Hope Charter School MOU.
Second.
Moved and second. Is there any discussion?
Well, I'd just like to maybe say a few words because this took us a really long time to bring about. We are, of course, well aware of that. New Hope has been in existence for some time, but we hadn't really worked out the details of how we would cover the responsibilities that New Hope has as part of special education students. Their plan in the long term is to apply to the Sacramento County SELPA and get the support that way, but currently, in the interim, they are functioning as a school of the district. Because we've not done that with the charter school before, it was important to hammer out kind of exactly how this would work. And both financially as well as responsibilities. Of course, our special education department already has a lot to do. And so taking on another school, it was something that we needed to talk about, make sure that we can do that. But, you know, this seems to be going well, and we're just pleased to be able to hammer out these details and bring this forth to the board so that we have this formal agreement with New Hope.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll move forward to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. All right, with that, we'll move on to board member requests for reports or agenda items. Trustee Hamilton starts.
None at this time, thank you.
Trustee Cardona.
Nothing this time.
Trustee Barnes. Okay. I actually have one. I kind of go to each of the school's district website, school site websites, and the websites look phenomenal. The concern I have has to do with beyond that, because I noticed that only 2 of the school sites have their social media icons on there. And well, one of them has them, but it doesn't necessarily go to the school site. So it's kind of a pet peeve of mine, seeing as how this is what I do. I guess one of the things I'd like to see is maybe some sort of a discussion as to what is the digital communications strategy that we have in place. What resources or tools do we have available beyond the websites? And I don't know if we have a communications committee that talks about or addresses any of these things. If we don't, that might be a good idea.
So, what was outlined at a recent board meeting with Ms. McGowan was that we hope starting this month, actually, what we had said to the board was that starting in January, we would be embarking on a process to re-examine communications overall in the district. And so we actually spoke of this at cabinet yesterday. She will be putting together, the board might remember when we first hired her, we went through a process of engaging with the community, engaging with staff, around communication and what's working and what isn't working, what tools do they utilize, that type of thing. So we outlined with the administrators yesterday the fact that we will be creating surveys, we will be creating some focus groups. She will be meeting individually with the school sites around the topics that you just mentioned, their social media, as well as their website. Mr. Lopez, our IT chief, has also been involved in conversations about the websites and making sure that the consistency is there so that we don't have just one or two of them. I think you're actually being very generous that they all look fabulous because I think we might be getting there. We're not all fabulous yet. So we just need to kind of keep working on that. So I know we'll have some information to share very soon.
Excellent. Thank you. And with that, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you for attending.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.